Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget, you can win up to $5,000 by listening to the Kevin Miller Show at 6 a.m. and at 8 a.m. I'll give you the code words for Kevin Miller's Money. And at 3 o'clock to our great friend Sean Hannity, the great American. Everybody loves him in afternoons here on KIDO Talk Radio. So when you hear the code words, I'll be giving them to you. You go to KIDOTalkRadio.com. Click Win Kevin Miller's Money. The more code words you get, the more chances you have to win on KIDO Talk Radio. Joining us now, Brian Maloney, MediaEqualizer.com, with his reaction to the bizarro world of the Emmys. Brian, good to have you with us, number one. Number two, does anybody here watch these goofy award shows anymore, sir?
I don't think so, and I think interjecting politics into all of these has been foolish on their part, and it just sends the audience running the other way. It really does.
Right, and but people continue to double down. Most notably, the shoe company known as Nike from the Pacific Northwest. As your time in Seattle, you know all about Nike and their rise to fame. At one hand, they have always thought of themselves as something different. They take this risky strategy with Colin Kaepernick, and it backfires initially, and then all of a sudden, Nike's the best thing ever. How do we explain that in America today?
Well, I think with Nike, what we have to look at is the long-term effect. The knee-jerk reactions are one thing, but what really counts over time is whether people choose, next time you're looking for clothes for your kids or for yourself or shoes, do you make the choice to go to a different product when it would have been Nike? So I think what we need to look at is 6 months from now, a year from now, was there a long-term effect? And I think that probably there will be. Consumers do vote with their feet. So I think that, if you look at the day-to-day stock price swings, a lot of that has to do with the greater market and not the individual performance of Nike anyway. And so, and if they talk about their sales, there were some on the left who rushed out to buy even more Nike things, but I don't think there were that many of them. So we're living in weird times because I think in the end it's foolish for a company to take political sides. I really do. I think you're alienating a huge percentage of your audience.
Indeed. Brian, we've been talking about this last hour, and usually we move on. You as a veteran talk show host know this, but if something is so good, and this fits right into what y'all do at the MediaEqualizer.com on KIDO Talk Radio, I'm going to play a clip from last night's Emmys, and we'll start with that.
The only white people that thank Jesus are Republicans and ex-crackheads. So,
imagine if Sean Hannity had said that jokingly on his show about a minority. Get the same type of treatment, sir?
Well, yeah. I mean that is an obvious thing. I mean, I realize that he's delivering that for the shock value or whatever, but I mean, as you pointed out, a lot of people aren't watching these things anymore. And I think in the desperation, when you know the audience for these award shows is shrinking, it encourages, crazier and crazier things like this to be said just to get attention. A lot of these people, their individual careers could be boosted by the notoriety of saying something asinine. So I think that's what's going on here. But overall, they're blowing it. And I don't know how many of these award shows are going to be around in 5 years. I really wonder.
But as someone who loves talk radio, defends talk radio, you have, and you know this, when you fill in on the big shows and such, Brian, there are things that we used to be able to say 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that we'd be run out of town on a rail today. It seems that the First Amendment only goes one way, and that's to the libs these days.
Well, that's absolutely true, and I think if you look at the way we've seen Laura Ingraham and even Tucker Carlson, who's a pretty moderate guy, get attacked by the left for running some pretty factual pieces on some excellent subjects, then he's under fire. So the left wants to play censor, and they've got corporate America on their side because the left knows how to bully, and that's the bottom line, and the corporations follow suit. So it's a sad state of affairs that we're in today. It really is.
Well, and we take a look at what's going on with Brett Kavanaugh. Again, Brian, You've been through the wars. I've been through the wars. We remember being kids when Clarence Thomas was going through what he went through. And yet today we're seeing history, unfortunately, repeat itself.
Well, we are. In a way, it seems a lot worse, than with Anita Hill, who, whether you believed her or not, she was able to make a coherent case for herself, I guess. At least in comparison. This time around, this is an absolute absurd. There really isn't a word that properly describes the level of stupid we're in these days. Looking at this, it looks like she told her therapist one thing. Now she's saying another. I can't wait for her testimony. It'll probably be another version. And, something probably did happen to her in 1982, but, it could very well have been some other guys in the room. Memories going back 35 years can really deceive, and she could easily be mistaken. I'm sure they were drinking, all of them, including her, and who knows what really went on there. But to throw that out, and what's really disgusting about this is not Kavanaugh and not even this woman as much as Dianne Feinstein, who sat on this thing for months until the last possible second for maximum political effect to sink Kavanaugh. Now, that is disgraceful. Feinstein should no longer be a U.S. Senator. She needs to be removed from office. I realize she has her opponent's a Democrat in November. Fine. Just do it. Just get rid of her. I think that was so disgraceful, what Feinstein did.
Brian Maloney joining us, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. But I agree with you, and this is what, and you've been doing this for many, many years. You're expanding now, and I'm proud of you, Brian. I followed you when you were on RKO in Boston and when you moved to Seattle and back and forth. But the thing that gets me is, and people are bringing this up, look at what happened with Paula Jones, and every time somebody goes after someone who's a Democrat, the woman is a hussy, a tramp, a this, that, and the other. And you're right. People should be believed, but the media picks and chooses their winners, sir.
Well, they really do, and that's exactly right. And to give you that example is Keith Ellison, who is the
right.
Democratic National Committee vice chair. There's a 911 call in his case. There are credible allegations of physical abuse toward his ex-girlfriend that have gone virtually uninvestigated. The left-wing media has no interest in it whatsoever, and he remains in his position, and he is poised to be Attorney General of Minnesota come November. And that just is fine, apparently. But in this case, we have to stop these hearings after months. Do you know how far in this process they are at this point? They've had closed-door sessions. Feinstein could have asked about this, a long time ago. She's had this since at least June that we know of. So, and there is also an indication that this was meant to use if Romney were elected president, because he was expected to nominate Kavanaugh in after the 2012 election had he won. That they've been sitting on this since then. So it's just about dirty tricks. That's the bottom line here.
Dirty tricks indeed. Brian, anything else you'd like to share with us today?
Well, yeah. So we have launched our new super PAC. It's called Red Wave America, and what we're doing is we're going to be intervening in some of the hottest races because we are not going to allow that blue wave to happen. We're raising money for billboards to go up in some swing states, where especially Texas is where we're starting off right now because this Beto O'Rourke thing is ridiculous, and we don't want to see Ted Cruz not reelected. So what we're doing is we're stepping in, and you can check out our website at redwave.vote. We also have a Facebook page. If you just type in @RedWaveAmerica, one word, it'll take you straight to us. So I hope your listeners will check us out.
Brian, I was going to say stay out of trouble, but I know better, sir.
Well, I probably won't.
Well, you have a great day. We appreciate your fine work.
You too. Appreciate it.
All right, Brian Maloney joining us here in the heart of America, the Treasure Valley of Idaho. Kevin Miller with you, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. You know, we've been hearing a lot of stories, and again, more and more people calling in. We need you folks, because this is not frivolous. This is not entertainment. This is the fight for the heart and soul of our great area and our great country. And that's really what it comes down to. We want to be that shining city, that shining show on the hill for everyone. And when you talk about it, we talk about it. We gladly give you a voice. We don't seek to censor or to make frivolous or demeaning comments like the leftists do. And if you're just tuning in, 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I have to tell you what Barack Obama did to us with the national security issue. And whether you like Edward Snowden or not, Mike Baker and I disagree on this all the time, our great friend from the CIA. I think Edward Snowden did a favor. Edward Snowden caught Obama, Clapper, Holder lying about the invasion into our privacy. And not a darn thing was done about it, right? And yet here you have Eric Holder vilifying people that want to make America great again.
This make America great mindset is not only flawed, it's rooted in fear.
You know, fear of you, Holder, fear of you, Lynch, fear of you, Obama. You know, if the government wants to look at you while you're watching TV at night, they can. If the government wants to tap into your phone, they can. If the government wants to find out what you ordered at the supermarket, they can. That's not the government of Jefferson, Madison, Hamilton, and Washington. It's not the government of Lincoln. You know, people talk about a constitutional convention, a convention of states, and I see why people want that, because, again, the Constitution was created by man through God. It wasn't created for the oppressors to keep down the little people. And Holder, Obama, Biden, Clapper, the crew. Holder was busted by Snowden, and not a darn thing happened. Let's hope Jeff Sessions, let's hope Donald Trump bring charges against them. Wouldn't that be treason? Oh, you can't say that. Okay, let me retract that statement. See, that's the difference. We're willing to tell you the real truth. Doug in Mountain Home, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin. No, you're hitting the nail right on the head. You know, the only thing that I heard you guys, when I first came on, you was talking to, I don't know, somebody back there about coming to the table and talking to them and hearing their perspective and loving them and stuff. I know I'm supposed to, Kevin, but I'm 62, and I've been paying attention to this since the Peanut Man. I was in the service. There ain't no going to the table with them, Kevin. You're seeing what is going on. You give them 1 inch, they take 10 miles. They're a bunch of lying thieves, and I'm a sinner. I've lied. I've probably, done it all. But God's convicting on me. And it's these people, they shouldn't even be in office. And just what you just said about Obama, Holder, all them guys, and Holder opening his mouth. I have watched these Republicans, and we're seeing it right now, and I call into the offices. You don't get nothing out of them. Just like ours here, Simpson, Crapo, all of them, they got their job right now, Kevin, for another 4 years or whatever it is. They don't care. Do you hear anything out of them about what's going on? Do you hear them helping the president? No. Who's the one? I'm going to ask you a question. I heard it yesterday, didn't catch it. Who is the Republican senator, I take it, from Tennessee that they're talking about that's going to vote against Kavanaugh? Am I wrong? Or tell me who it is.
To guess, it would be Bob Corker. And Bob Corker is retiring. He was the former mayor of Chattanooga, and he's anti-Trump.
Yeah, and he's a Republican.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I've watched this stuff time and time again. I don't know what Schumer has got over on these people, but there's stuff they've got on one another, Kevin, and that's what's going down. They got so much dirt on one another. I mean, you heard that, that frickin' witch Clinton. You heard her when they were doing them. I mean, she still had her microphone on when they were doing the freaking debates, and she come right out and said, if this effing guy gets in and becomes president, we're all going to jail. There you go. She said it right there. They are so freaking dirty from top to bottom. And this guy's trying to clean house, and do we got Republicans that try to help him? Can you hear me, Simpson and Crapo? Nobody does a damn thing to help him. Nothing. So wake up, America. Wake up, American Republicans. Vote this freaking election. Because this is your country, it's your wallet, it's your rights, it's your First Amendment. I'm so pissed off. I really would like to see freaking Schumer, when this stuff goes down and this country crumbles, I hope we see him hanging on a freaking light pole somewhere. I am sick of this crap. I've said enough before I really get wound up, Kevin. I'll see you later. Keep up the good work. I really enjoy what you say.
God bless, Doug. We appreciate that. That is passion, and that's what you listen to each and every morning. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, left continues to try and indoctrinate. We give you the truth. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
He is the rare combination of a 8-year-old boy. I mean, he's got the maturity of an 8-year-old boy with the insecurity of a teenage girl.
And there we have it, a guy who's a loser, ladies and gentlemen. John Kerry on the HBO show, Bill Maher's HBO show. Can't even remember its name. I hate it when that happens. Real Clear Politics, Real Talk. With Bill Maher, certainly not a lover of freedom. John Kerry, proving our point today that when you can't debate somebody intellectually, when you can't debate somebody philosophically, you go to the potty mouth humor. You go to what you can, come up with. You call people names. Sad indeed. Once again, here's John Kerry.
He really is the rare combination of a 8-year-old boy. I mean, he's got the maturity of an 8-year-old boy with the insecurity of a teenage girl.
Right, from the Real Time show on HBO. Coming up next, we take a look at Judge Kavanaugh and his accuser.
This Make America Great mindset is not only flawed, it's rooted in fear.
Right, fear. Fear of what happens if we continue on this liberal, progressive, potty-mouthed, downtrodden slide that we've seen in the last 8 years under Obama that make the 60s seem conservative. Boy, that's a lot to wake up to so early in the morning. That's why we appreciate you joining us. Kevin Miller with you here, talking about the smearing of Judge Kavanaugh. And people can say, well, Kevin Miller, and I know we've got some people calling in, but we'll wait till after the news, so please be patient. Remember, when you're talking about it, we're talking about it here. Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. When you see these allegations against Judge Kavanaugh, Dianne Feinstein waiting till the last minute, the liberal media pouncing on him, calling him every name in the book. And you go back to Judge Roy Moore, a person who is a dear friend of mine, who I covered back in the early 90s in Alabama. And all these allegations against Judge Roy Moore, whatever happened to those allegations? Whatever happened to those lawsuits? Whatever happened to the smear job against Roy Moore? Oh, the election's over. He lost. They all went away. And here we have this situation now where we have Brett Kavanaugh and something that happened 36 years ago. Now, if you can remember something traumatic that happened to you 36 years ago, you're a better person than me. And the debate we got into yesterday is whether or not you would reveal that to a friend, a coworker, or something else. You can make an argument, and you have a lot of people that were abused by the priests. Hello, Pope Francis, are you listening? That were abused by the priest that covered it up, that didn't say anything. Now you have this person. Now, what I don't understand is when Paula Jones was assaulted, groped, and everything else, when Anita Broderick was assaulted, groped, and everything else, when all the women of CBS, of Miramar Entertainment, were assaulted, groped, and everything else, nothing ever happened. And yet, nobody believed them. And today we have someone who's a Democratic activist, whose attorney is a Democratic activist, that did her very best to go after Paula Jones in a bad way. We're supposed to believe her. Now, again, she has a right to come forward. Why hasn't she accepted? We'll talk about it next. Clarence Thomas, Judge Bork, and Brett Kavanaugh, what do they have in common? With Kevin Miller next. 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Thank you all for listening. Let's find out what happened while you were sleeping. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
Don't forget, KIDO Talk Radio is your home for the Lars Larson Show. We catch Lars every Monday here with us on KIDO Talk Radio at 8 o'clock. If you missed that, go to KIDOTalkRadio.com, where you can check out what Lars has to say every Monday with Kevin Miller, or you can catch him right after Sean Hannity. The news, the politics always continues right here, each and every day on your place to talk, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. So we're going to find out whether or not Supreme Court Justice-to-be Brett Kavanaugh will have a chance to face his accuser. Here's our own Rachel Sutherland.
Judge Kavanaugh and Christine Ford will both testify under oath about what happened at a teenage drinking party more than 30 years ago. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says Ford's allegations are credible and ought to be treated with the utmost gravity.
I believe her. Many, many, many Americans believe her.
Their testimony means Thursday's Judiciary Committee confirmation vote will be delayed. Democrats want the FBI to investigate the allegations as part of Judge Kavanaugh's background investigation. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Isn't it amazing that Judge Kavanaugh passed every background check imaginable, and this oversight was missed? And it was an oversight that these allegations occurred against someone who's a Democratic activist that doesn't like Donald Trump, her attorney, a Clinton defender. It all goes back to the Clintons, does it not? And by the way, Matthew, thank you for the Facebook message. I love what he said. If Kavanaugh goes down, Trump should bring in every leftist judge and have the Senate rip them to shreds. Although that would be fun to watch, it still would defeat the purpose, which is to save the Republic, to save the Supreme Court. And I believe Kavanaugh will be put in, Brett Kavanaugh. But what is scary, what is disturbing, what is troubling is that you have people already coming to this accuser's defense. Now, many years ago, there was a case called the Duke Lacrosse case. Okay? Google it, true believer. People say that's what, Kevin Miller, that's what launched your national career. We were on every show in America. We were on the Hannity show, the O'Reilly show. We were ubiquitous. We came that close to leaving radio for network television. It's fact. It's the record. And if I truly had wanted to be a part of one of those stations, probably Headline News or CNN, I could have done that, but I didn't. This has always been my love. It has always been my mistress, being with you. But the point being is you had a young lady by the name of Crystal Mangum, an exotic dancer. Crystal Mangum was a stripper who said that the members of the Duke lacrosse team, Reed Seligman, Colin Finnerty, David Evans, I remember those boys, that they've grown up to be men, like it was the back of my hand. Why? Because the country, the media, the law, everybody denounced them as rapists. Kevin Miller reported on the story. If you watch the 30 for 30, you'll see me on there with Nancy Grace. And the presumption of innocence was lost. And I see that today with Brett Kavanaugh. I see that today where, why would this woman do it? I don't know why. Why she would come out. Maybe she hates Kavanaugh enough and Donald Trump enough, or the left has decided to use her enough. I don't get it. But in the era of Me Too, let's not forget Duke lacrosse. And I can remember Nancy Grace, God bless her, yelling at me on national television when I said, it looks as if the prosecution's case is falling apart. And we forget about those young men. I urge you to go watch that 30 for 30 or the several books that were written about the topic. That's where we are right now. And because the defendants, the accused, were white, the accuser was black, they were given the benefit of the doubt. Just like we're seeing now with this woman who has come forward against Justice Kavanaugh.
She will probably be getting a barrage of trolls and threats on her. We know this from experience.
Right. They had a big rally for her. And where else? California. Let's get to your thoughts. On the phones, if you're talking about it, we're talking about Kevin Miller in the morning. Hello, Patriot Ray.
Good morning, Kevin. You know, the big problem here is, I think because they call this a credible attack on Kavanaugh, that what should happen is every member of the House Judiciary, or the Senate committee there, they need to have their background checked for at least 30 years and see what they will stand up to any credibility on if someone comes forward for them. This lady, according to some of the things this is just on Facebook and other social media, but her students hated her. A lot of them said, don't go to her class. She's vindictive. She will just, if you're someone who believes in the Constitution and everything, she will attack you. I'm just looking at this as just another, oh gosh, my mind is going dead today. But, a fishing trip to get rid of Kavanaugh and go after Trump because they still believe in all of the things that have been Trump's been accused of, and they can't prove any of it. It is falling apart. Everything is falling apart. But the problem is just before the midterms, and a lot of the people who do not listen to the news, but just the mainstream stuff, and they look at this, they say, oh, he's guilty. We got to hang him. This is nothing but a public lynching before anything has been proven. So with this man's history, doesn't that count for anything for the liberals? I'm just so fed up with things, Kevin. I believe in this country. I believe that most people want the right things to be done, but they just don't do it. And they just follow the narrative because they think they're going to get something for nothing. And they want to punish people. I don't know why. Kevin, stay fired up. Oh, you have an awesome show, my friend. Awesome as it can be. So you just keep going forward. And we love you here, and God bless.
We love you, Patriot Ray.
Thank you so much.
All right, our great friend, Patriot Ray. Phone numbers 580-5436. Before we get to more calls, let's take a listen to a flashback. In 2014, you remember her, Barbara Walters. She welcomed Anita Hill.
I'd like to say that I'm honored to be meeting you. I watched those hearings, as did so many other people. Mm-hmm. And to so many of us, you are our heroine.
Oh, well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I mean, I watch your show, and you're always covering the important issues, and I am just happy to be here. I don't want to be kidding.
At your confirmation hearing, I mean, you were questioned so aggressively, and the sexual harassment that you brought up, people criticized for you and all but tore you apart. What does it cost you going through all that?
There we have it. What does it cost you? Exposing the media bias locally and nationally. Kevin Miller in the morning here. KIDO Talk Radio. Now, Dan Rather. Remember Dan Rather? The disgraced CBS. A lot of people at CBS disgraced. Dan Rather recently was on with Cuomo. And they asked Dan Rather about this. And here's what he had to say about Brett Kavanaugh.
Approval for Thomas went up afterwards when he was, of course, confirmed. How did you understand that at the time?
I didn't understand it at the time, and I'm not sure I understand it now, is the honest answer. But once we go through the catharsis of this kind of public display, people get able to make up their mind. I think what happened was the public attitude was, look, he's on the Supreme Court. We hold the Supreme Court in very high esteem. It's very important as part of our system of checks and balances. So give the guy the benefit of the doubt and let's move on to the next thing. But Chris, we're not just in a different planet now, we're in a different cosmos. At the time of the Anita Hill and the Clarence Thomas thing, there were 2 women in the United States Senate. Today there were 23, maybe 24. The Me Too movement didn't exist at the time. So while some comparisons can be made, we don't want to make too many comparisons because it's a different time, different situation.
One of the weak arguments, in my opinion, you feel free to judge it, judge me as wrong, but for a Trump supporter to say this should happen behind closed doors, if we've learned anything in the current political environment, we need as many doors open and for it to be transparent as possible.
Absolutely. Let the sunshine in. Sunshine is a disinfectant. And what this is about, as was the case with the Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas time, is what the Bork hearings in mid-1980s was all about. What this is about is trying to get to the truth, or as close to the truth as is humanly possible.
The Bork hearings. Just once, I'd like to have seen RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Kagan, Sotomayor go through anything close to what Brett Kavanaugh, Justice Roberts, Justice Alito, Justice Scalia, Justice Bork, Justice Thomas went through. Let's go to Conservative Steve on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning.
Hey, Kevin Miller. It's the same old story. It's the same old story. The liberals can say anything they want, whenever they want, and how they want. And they're cool as long as you agree with everything they say. It's just like, poor liberal Steve this morning. If a guy would have stood up, if a white comedian would have said, the only black people that say praise Jesus are the gangbangers or the ones that are just getting out of prison, the dude would be unemployed today, period. Wouldn't have a job, wouldn't ever have a job again. That's how it works. Call it laughter or whatever. And, it's interesting that this gal, she was involved in the Pussy Hat parades, and she's just a big activist. Isn't that interesting? Anti-Trump, anti-everything, and then she just pops up out of the woodwork. Isn't that interesting? And the bottom line is people aren't buying it, Kevin. The real people, the voters, the quiet people, the silent majority that go into the polls, they're not buying it. That's why Trump's there, and that's why the deep state is on their way out. And they're going to get exposed. And I hope all this stuff is redacted. Trump supposedly redacted a bunch of stuff. I hope they all get caught with their pants down, man. And the American people get to see what's really going on. It should be interesting. I hope so. Because Trump, hey, the dude's not afraid of any of them, man. I think he's proved that to the media and everyone else. So we shall see what happens, huh? I hope Obama gets caught, too. And, another thing I might have said before is Hillary knows she's got a lot of dirt on all these deep state people in her emails. And I guarantee you, like Savage said, she's probably telling all these deep staters, Republicans and Democrats, hey, I go down, you guys go down with me. That's why it's so silent. And I believe Jeff Sessions is one of those two, to tell you the truth. They got something on old Jeff. It just looks that way, pretty sure. All right, have a good day, man.
Thank you, Conservative Steve. Coming up next, your thoughts. Kavanaugh's accuser. Do you believe her? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And from our friend Bruce, Kavanaugh's accuser willing to put 100 years of freedom on the line? If she cannot prove 10 years of freedom on the line, pardon me, if she cannot prove her allegations, then I think she should go to jail for 10 years, pay a $100,000 fine. Anybody who has supported her should have the same penalty. Vicky, thank you for your patience. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hi. I just had 3 words, and it's follow the money. I guarantee you somebody in Congress somewhere follow their secret bank accounts. She's being paid. That's just my opinion. Something that happened almost 40 years ago. She's being paid somehow, some way to sabotage the nomination.
Well, it shows you they will seek to any level, any depth of depravity to take care of Kavanaugh or anybody else that stands up for what's right.
Exactly, and I agree with a couple callers ago. What about what he's done in the last 36 years for the betterment of our country? What about all that?
Oh, I agree. I agree with you.
Just my opinion.
Your opinion's welcome
Have
here.
a good day.
Thank you, Vicki. Let's go to Holly in Caldwell with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Holly.
Hey, how are you?
Living the dream. And you?
Well, I am just here, after calling in for the last few years and reporting on all of that misconduct that occurred in both of the Bundy family cases and how they had to fight tooth and nail to even present any type of case and, being held in jail for 2 years. And then we know at the end that they found all the misconduct against the government and they had to let them all go and drop all the charges. Are the American people not concerned that, in this case, they don't even have to have a hearing and somebody can write in a letter and say something happened 40 years ago and they get all this national press? And, what is happening to our judicial system?
It's a very good point. Not only that, but at one time, the media used to be, Holly, the media used to report the news. Now they take sides and make it up.
Well, yeah, it's based on zero facts, but yet Americans who are innocent can be held for that long, and then they can't even they rule out all those certain things that they can't even use as defense, and they aren't provided all their discovery, and then they find out that it was a plot to kill their own family and take all their stuff and their property, and nothing's done. And you know, the whistleblower had sent a letter to the Department of Justice, and I mean, we just have some serious issues. And then to make this dog and pony show and let the media be the ones that be the judge and jury is ridiculous.
Well, here's the other one. Let's go back to under Obama, Holder, and Lynch. You talk about the Bundys, but let's talk about the rest of us, that our freedoms have been violated because the federal government just can come in and electronically surveil us, can put us under surveillance, can search everything that we have and own without any due process.
Totally wrong. That Patriot Act, a lot of those things need to be repealed. We have so much ugly misconduct, and it's just, you know, it's ridiculous. People need to get involved, and they need to be voting, and they need to be becoming informed and trying to rectify some of the things, because that's how a free nation will rectify itself, is enough good people become involved in their own government.
Well, and somebody should hold Obama accountable.
Yeah, no kidding. And all the other people that aided and abetted Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, all the uranium that they sold, all of the emails that she still has. I mean, it's ridiculous. So.
The Clinton crime family. Holly, thank you for the call.
Thanks.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's get you to traffic and weather together.
Just Jim Duthie.
According to the Washington Post, she's a Democrat. A lot of people look at this and say, here's somebody who has a political motive to tell this story. What would you say to that?
I'm struck by Grassley's comments. You know, he's basically saying that this was politically motivated, and I can certainly understand that as a theory. Look at the timing of it, absolutely.
And she's a big Democratic donor.
Right, but you also have to consider the fact that something that is politically motivated can also be true.
In this case, it's dicier because she is a Democrat donor. His accuser, Christine Blasey Ford. Her lawyer, Deborah Katz, is a very well-known Democratic activist who, by the way, her lawyer was very defensive of Bill Clinton when he got accused of Paula Jones, and said that one allegation of Bill Clinton allegedly taking out his private parts in front of Paula Jones wasn't enough for sexual harassment.
A very good point by NBC's Megyn Kelly. By the way, NBC, the only show, and I believe Megyn Kelly, going back to her conservative roots at the Fox News channel, pointing out this young lady is a big lib. Her attorney is a big lib. And you talk about the hypocrisy. Her attorney is the one who argued, as Megyn Kelly just said, that Bill Clinton didn't commit sexual harassment, sexual assault against Paula Jones, which he later reluctantly admitted to. This is the hypocrisy of the left. By the way, you're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio.
But now wants to, this Supreme Court nomination not to go forward because of this allegation.
What would be the possible reason to make something up starting in 2012?
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, it could have been his assent to, the federal bund. If you're going to argue it on his side, right? You could say he was ascending in the halls of power. He was getting on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. She's sitting there. Maybe she had a negative experience with him. Maybe he blew her off. This is what defenders would say, right?
By the way, Megyn Kelly, Kavanaugh's mom was the judge that presided over the foreclosure of his accuser's family's home when they went into foreclosure. Oh, that's not a motive there now, is it?
She's been harbored. She's had an axe to grind about him, and she lays the foundation as a Democrat donor, saying, "I don't want this. I'm just going with the most dramatic theory in defense of him." It's been 34 years. He was allegedly 17 when it happened. How is he supposed to defend himself? There's a reason we have statutes of limitation in this country, and that's because this isn't a criminal case, but that's because memory fades, details fade, and it's impossible for him to disprove a negative or to prove a negative. I didn't do it.
There you have it, Megyn Kelly. I don't think she'll be on NBC much longer. Much more. Where is the presumption of innocence? Doesn't the judge, soon to be justice, deserve that? You deserve more news. Fox News, your home for Fox News. 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller, good morning.